Welcome to Courtside Moms. I'm your host, Wendy Sparks. Today, I have the utmost pleasure of speaking with Jolinda Wade, mother of three-time NBA champion, finals MVP, 13-time All-Star, gold medal Olympian, and future Hall of Famer, Dwyane Wade. This is another amazing episode, so let's get right to it and bring Jolinda on the show. Welcome, Jolinda, to Courtside Moms. It is an honor for me to have you here. Thank you so much for spending time with me and teaching me about you and your son, Dwyane.
I am honored, and I thank you for the welcome. And I couldn't think of a better subject to speak about than one of my very own, Dwyane.
That's right. Amen. So Dwyane and your stories to me are so beautiful that I'm not even sure where to begin. So to be honest, so let's start with where was Dwyane born and where was he raised?
Dwyane was born in Chicago, Illinois, at the hospital called the University of Illinois. He was actually my only child that was born at a different hospital than my other three children. Raised on the south side of Chicago, basically the 59th Street area, and he was born on, it was the 69th Street area when I was with his dad.
And so was he raised in the Chicago area as well? Is that where he grew up?
Yes. He grew up there, and then after, say when he got maybe like 8 or 9 years old, then he grew up in the south suburban area of Robbins with his father.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did he get involved in basketball?
Wendy, when I was looking back and thinking back on Dwyane's road to where he's at today, you have to go back and you have to look at where you grew up at and the type of environment that was there. Right. And like I said, we grew up on 59th and Prairie. The environment that was there was not many things that was available for young Black males or for them to do. But one thing we did have, because we stayed close to Washington Park, so we had a park where we can go through and allow him to just, to me, I wasn't looking at it as being a pro thing. It was just that this was the sport of a time that this child can go and he can, get free. So we had these big cousins that I'll take him to the park, or we'll set on the side of the building one of the milk crates where they put the hole in it, and that became like a little basketball for him and his little friends that was around there, just giving him something to do to stay active in the neighborhood.
Of course. Do you remember when he started playing organized basketball at this point now?
All of that came when he was staying with his father. His father always have loved sports, always loved basketball, football, you name it. His dad have always been that person. And so when he do spend time with his father, then that's what they'll do. His father take him out and let him play ball with some of the greats. I heard he was having him to play ball with. He had these step brothers that he grew up with, and they played ball together with them. So that part came from his dad, and then, living out there with his dad, getting involved into the grammar school and the high school that he got into, and they noticed this kid. And so that's when I really saw the amazing Dwyane. I saw him.
Aww. So he went to Harold's L. Richard, I believe. High school, right? So tell us what you know about his high school days.
Well, I remember the little things that because he wasn't staying with me then, he was staying with his dad. So I remember the times when he'll just come by and I would sit down and ask him, how's it going? Do you got a girlfriend? The typical question mom asks her sons and all that. Are you still a virgin? Little stuff like that throw out at them. But when I got a chance to see his gift, the talent that he had, when I got a chance to do that, I go to the game with my daughter Trujillo. Mom, come on to the game. Dwyane's playing. And that's when he was at Harold's, Richards, and his dad was there, his aunties and his dad's wife at the time, all, just a little family thing for him. And when he saw me, he just lit up because I am the favorite girl. That kid, when I saw him in Richards, when I saw him play, I knew then, oh, it's something extra about Dwyane. It was something extra. I mean, he could play ball, but it was something extra that I saw there. I don't know if he was showing off for me or what, but whatever that thing is, it'll follow them to the league. So yeah, I had a chance to be a part of that time of his life too.
Amen. And you know what? As moms, we do see that little extra about our children. You know what I mean? Sometimes beforehand, we're like, you know what? He's special. He's already special just because he's mine. But I see something a little bit more, and I see his potential. And isn't it wonderful when other people recognize that potential too? You're like, hold on a second. You know what I mean? It's
and by someone else recognizing that our children have these special talents, God will release someone in their life that'll help to take them to another level, that'll show that interest in them, that'll help bring that thing up out of them that we can't do. Even though his dad was a sports person, he still needed whoever was next to help to keep bringing him to the level of where we are today with this young man.
Absolutely. I mean, his journey, like you said, it's beautiful when you, as a parent, when you recognize, you know what, I can only go so far. I need now someone else to step in with this experience and help my child go to the next level. Because you know what, sometimes a lot of parents just don't know that, or they don't recognize that. They just figure, this is all I got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's nice to know that, you know what I mean, you and your family, you said, okay, you know what, Dwyane needs to go further. Let's get him further. What can we do? Where can he go? So now at first, many colleges had recruited Dwyane, but they later backed out just due to his test scores. However, 3 colleges were still interested. So you had Marquette, Illinois State, and DePaul University. So tell us about that final decision to go to Marquette.
Marquette really turned out to be the ones that really wanted to invest in my son. And I love Dwyane's mind. I always have loved, even when he was a little boy, how he thinks. He just think things out and think things through. So because of some of the hesitance that he got from Illinois State or DePaul, it made him say, well, okay, let me go to somewhere where somebody really, really see that there's something in me. Even though his scores were like they were, I don't know, we get that thing might come from my side because testing always have been one of my issues as well. But that we do so well in the school, getting the grades and everything. I mean, we're little geniuses here, but it's in that testing place. So that school was the school, and I'm a very woman of faith, and I believe that's what God wanted him to go.
That's right. That's right. You know what? Me too. I believe that his steps were ordered the way they were ordered. Right?
Girl,
you know what I mean?
Don't start nothing, Wendy.
So his freshman year, he sat out to get his academics to where they needed to be, but he still was able to practice with the team. Amen. So I think that's like sidelined. But Marquette was at the time in the rebuilding stage. But when Dwyane finally suited up with them, he later led them to the Final Four, which there's a place they hadn't been since 77. So tell me about your first experience when you got to watch him play at Marquette.
Oh, I remember when I went to that game, not that one that took him, but when I went to the first game, actually it was when he was sitting out, Wendy.
Oh. When
he was sitting out, later you'll be able to see it. But what we were able to see is that while he was sitting out, he had good preferable vision anyway, but it became more acute. Now the coach is using him in another manner. Now he's coaching. Now he's sitting back on the bench. You got a chance to really study the floor and to be able to see what you possibly can be able to add. It was just so much jewels that was added to him while he was sitting out. And I remember going to one of the games, and I was, that's Dwyane Wade's mom. He's becoming this big guy on campus now. So I'm sitting back and I hear the man say, the only person missing is that kid right there, Dwyane Wade. Apparently he's seen them practicing and stuff. They said, when Wade get in there, this person spoke everything that actually happened when he started playing. And when he starts playing, Dwyane comes outside of himself. And Dwyane played from an intense place to me. He plays from deep within his heart. If he got issues, all that's a part of him when he hit that floor, baby. Watch out. Watch out.
Wow. I love your passion. I love it. You're saying, listen, I'm all in when it comes to my baby boy. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
So Dwyane was a phenom, and it was obvious he was just ready for the NBA. He decided to forego his senior year, and in 2003, he declared for the draft. So you had already witnessed him playing now NCAA, playing at Marquette. But were you ready now to see your baby play the NBA?
With us, and your mom, with us, we don't get all, we still see them as our babies. We still see them as, who they are. So our thing is, okay, that's another step for you. It's a big step. And we still want to be mama and daddy in that place. And okay, now, you got to do this. You got to make sure you do this. And you got to do that, because it is a big step for them. I didn't really get it yet, how big it was, even how it's going to be for me as watching, because I didn't go to the draft. I watched him on TV.
Right.
And sitting there watching him on TV and watching them call his name and seeing him go up there and to stand with his hat and have the baby. And that's when it hit me, and I just started crying. I said, my God, look where he's at. I went, I prayed, I got on my knees, I prayed to God. I just thanked him for ordering his steps, for the plan that he had for his life. I can't tell you all the stuff that was coming up out of me, but I was so humble and I was so grateful that he made it. This kid, he's a grown man today, but I was calling him a kid. This kid saw this as being a part of what he wanted to do when everybody was doing their own thing. When I was doing my thing, Dad doing his thing, everybody here and there. But Dwyane saw bigger than that. He saw himself there. He even spoke it. He even wrote it down in high school, and that thing came to pass. So yeah, it turned into a big thing. But at first it was just like, okay. I'm a little nervous. He's going to a new place, but that's the mom thing. He's going to a new place. I was nervous when he went to 8th grade. I was nervous when he went to high school. I was nervous when he went to college. So that's just a place that you go as a parent. When they go into a new place, you become protective. What's going to happen to them up there? Who's all these people? But it's all a part of the ride. It's all a part of the journey. It's all a part of the high, the euphoria that we get into as their parents as well.
Oh, I love it. And it's so true, because as a parent, you sit back and you look at this experience and you're like, my kid made it. This is my child. Like, he did what he spoke to it, and he did it. He's living through it. And that is something that is just, to me, is glorifying, because you're like, wait, hold on a second. This is my baby. When you're turning on the TV, when you're sitting in the stands, when you're walking down the street and you hear people talk and you're like, they're talking about my son.
Oh my God, you know exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's something that for me personally, I don't know if I could ever get used to that. I don't. I'm just like shocked, because like you said, our babies are our babies. No.
Yes.
No.
We don't. So how about when he got drafted, he went to Miami.
That's right.
That was interesting how he got there. If you know the story, you'll know that while he was at Marquette and they was in the Final Four, and they was playing Kentucky Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
And actually they defeated the Kentucky. Kentucky had a perfect record. And
That's
here
right.
comes this Marquette team with this kid, Dwyane Wade, on there, and they defeated it. And that got the attention of the of the coach of the Miami Heat, which was Pat Riley.
That's
and
right.
Pat Riley, because he's a Kentucky Wildcat. So he want to know, who is this kid that came in there and broke the record? And so it had them to put their eyes on him, and they actually went for him. He's seen more development that he can do with him, but it had them to say, we want this kid. So now here we are, down here in Miami. Dwyane plays his first season, and Dwyane is Dwyane. Outside of Dwyane, learning all these new techniques. And we're riding in a car, getting this firsthand treatment. And I look, and somebody got on a jersey, and on the back of the jersey, it said Wade. I said, what? Y'all see this? People wearing this jersey with this. I mean, it was just so exhilarating. It was mind blowing that these people had his name on the back of they was wearing them faithfully. It was just Absolutely. A crazy experience. I'm still blown away by it. I'm still blown away.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to ask you, what was that like for you when you're sitting in the arena and you see people, like you said, wearing your baby's jerseys, they're holding up Dwyane Wade signs, and they're losing their minds, they're chanting, and you're like, this is my child. like, where does that take you as a mom? You're like, wait, hold on a minute. Like, for me, it just blows my mind away. It really does. But where does that take Jolinda?
It takes me right back to the altar, where I go and I just, look up, and I just, every time, most of the time, it's like they put the camera on me, they'll see me like this, where I'm just steady praising God and thanking God for gifting me with such an amazing son. Because, when he was born, I heard the word blessing. I had no idea what it meant. I don't know. I said, what is that? What, I suppose to name him, because we didn't have a name for him. So I didn't know. I just heard blessing. And and I had 3 girls. And so I remember coming out of that room, because I had to have him a C-section. And I asked the doctors, I said, well, what did I have? They said, a boy. And I remember saying, oh, wow. So to me, okay, maybe that's it. That's the blessing. But when we look at the overall picture of his life, Wendy, the blessing part is what I was being told at that moment is he's going to be a blessing to not only you, because I brought him through you, but to many, to the world. And that's what God does. He gives our sons to the world, and daughters for the WNBA moms. He gives them to the world. And what do we have to learn how to do? Share them with the world, because they love them. All over they love our babies all over the world. Their names are being whispered. People are naming their kids after our babies. It's amazing, man.
That is so true. That is so true. I actually know people who have named their children after athletes, after professional basketball players or NFL players. And it's so funny because that shows that impact that they have on fans. And they're saying, you know what, this is the person that I want to model. I want my child to be modeled after. This person is showing goodness, and I want my baby to replicate that goodness.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So his 14 years with Miami Heat were thrilling, to say the least. He had 3 NBA championships with his team in 2006 alongside Shaq. Dwyane was the NBA Final MVP. And then again, he became a champion in 2012 and 13 with LeBron and Chris. So he had so many victories during his era, despite the human aspect of everything. When you go through human issues, real life issues, I'm saying hardships, injuries, and all that. How did you see him grow and develop through these years just to become who he is now?
Oh, I love that question, because I remember every time I would write him or text him, when he was playing. And even today, I still tell him how I'm just so humbled and amazed at the type of man, the kind of man he's becoming, because he's steady, always becoming. I remember him saying to me this summer, you know what, Mom? I realize we don't live in a perfect world. He said, but we can create perfect moments. And that's what Dwyane had been doing practically all of his life, creating them perfect moments, understanding the world in which he lived in. And I just thought that was just such a deep place for a person to be able to go, to be able to see, to see past what's in his presence. Let's make this perfect, this moment right here. Just like with you and your baby, I mean, everything could be going on around them, but hey, Mom, come over. We're gonna have a little dinner, this and that. They done created a perfect moment in a chaotic world or in chaotic environment, because our babies, let's be real, they go, I mean, it's not like people see them, they fans, they see them just playing, but it's a lot of work they got to do with their bodies. It's a lot of work they got to do with their minds. They got to watch their hearts. They got to watch who in their ear. So it's a constant thing for them as well. It's not just what people see. We know behind the scene that their growth and to become, they go through some things. They're becoming, like my son, he's an activist. Always have had a voice to speak out, and a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people say what they say about our kid, but you know what? He still believed in standing in what he believed in. He believed in standing in a place, as the world found out that my grandbaby, Zaya, is a transgender, and instead of turning his back and walking away from her and walking away from where his baby was at, what did he do? He did something that a lot of people don't even understand. There's this word, it's called agape. Agape means unconditional love. So what he did, he used an agape love. Agape to me, which I tell people, because I'm still this teacher of the word or whatever, to me is loving beyond your understanding. I don't have to understand why you're like this to stop me from loving you. And when I saw that in my own child, he just humbled me. And it's like I heard the Spirit say, that's agape. Loving your child, loving people that's different, that you don't understand, beyond your understanding. So that he constantly amazes me on this man that he have become and that he's steady become.
Right. To me, agape love is unconditional love. And
yes,
I see this in you with your family. And I see how that trickles down with Dwyane and his. And, when we look at what we give our children, you know what I mean? Like you're saying, the agape love and things that we teach, these are the things that we want to pass on, and they actually catch and use it. So I just love, anyways, I'm just all about love anyway. That's just Wendy. So
I picked that up when I first met you. Yes,
thank you. Oh, thank you. Actually, it's funny because I met Dwyane years ago for like 3 seconds. My son, he went undrafted, and then he spent the end of the summer until October 1st before he got waived with the Miami Heat. And I remember sitting at the game and I'm like, there's Dwyane Wade. I was losing my mind. And then, then at the end of the game, we went to the locker room and he was standing there and I'm just like, hi.
Yes.
And it was so funny because, yes. And I was like, wow. Like, you know what I mean? Because for me, this was really my first now MomMBA experience now. You know what I mean? So I'm in the room and I'm like, well, not in the locker room, I'm in the family room. And I'm just like, wow. And I'm looking at the players and I'm looking at them differently now. Because now I'm looking at them as somebody's child. I wasn't looking at them as the player I just saw on the court. Exactly. You know what I mean? I'm mama. So I'm going in and I'm like, wow, Kim. And I'm talking to my son about all the players. And then we go in the parking lot and we're looking at all the cars and we're talking about where they are and where he was aspiring to be. Yes, so that time that he spent there, although it was short-lived and he was later waived and he went to play for their G League team, Skyforce in South Dakota, it still was an experience for him.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
So he spent a little time with Dwyane, you know. So I love the fact that he was actually able to learn from legends. He's able to learn, you know what I mean? Because everybody, I always tell my kids, everybody you encounter with in life, they teach you something. You know what I mean? That's
True.
it's an experience, whether it's a negative experience or a positive experience. It's how
Positive.
you embrace
Exactly.
it. It's how you
Yes.
embrace it. What makes the difference, right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So let's talk about your baby as an Olympian. He played with Team USA 3 times, where he won the bronze twice. And then alongside LeBron James, Jason Kidd, Carmelo Anthony, they brought home the gold in 2008, I believe. So, what was that like for you to have your son represent your country and then win a championship on such a global stage?
Once again, seeing that, I guess, I don't know, I hear a lot of people hear this, but I heard that his life was so much bigger than basketball. I used to hear that in my spirit. And just to constantly see the climb or the elevation that was happening with his career, or where he was at, it was always a place, once again, where it took me to the altar, and I'm like, whoa, wow, bless you, thank you, God, you know what I mean? What's next? Keep me prepared for what's next, and always keeping him covered. Always keeping, I believe in that, and I do it right here today. I covered the whole family, but I kept him specifically covered in the places in which he was being elevated to, that no harm or danger come to him, no physical, he don't experience no physical hurt that would end his career. You got to get them some of them injuries, and his mind stay open. So listen, I believe that the more, like in the Olympian, the more that takes them to a different country now, that takes them to a different place. So the more they see, the more his mind popped, the more his mind expand, the more he was like, wow, now he done saw past the little block neighborhood that he done come from, and he's already now sitting up on this, standing on this platform with his other peers, and they're giving once again of their gift and their talent that God gave our babies, and they're giving that to now other people, other countries all over the world. It was just such a great time. I remember the time when they celebrated it in Chicago with Oprah, and I just like you said you was with Dwyane, that's how I was with Kobe Bryant. I'm like, that's cool, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, do you mind if I take a picture with you?
Yeah.
Just breath that, because this Kobe Bryant, and he, oh, come on, mom, just such a sweet young man. Like you said, once we get on that other side, we don't see him as, like fans may see him. We see him as somebody's child. We see him, we see a side of them that the world don't get a chance to see, because some people can be mean to our kids, so we see
That's so
something.
true. You
Yeah.
know what's funny? You say that when you see somebody and you're like, they inspire you and you want to take a picture with them, but you don't know how to ask. That is how I felt when I met you. So when we were in Chicago, after we were leaving, I remember you and I were walking down the hallway and we got on the elevator together and we're by the door. And I'm like, I just listened to the best testimonial I've heard in years. And this beautiful woman right here, I'm like, this is a moment. And for me, I was like, she inspires me so much. And I kept saying, I have to take a picture. I have to take a picture. And I remember talking to you about the show. And I remember saying, I would love for you to come on Courtside Moms.
Yes.
Yes. And you said, here's my phone number and call me. And I said,
Yeah.
okay, yes, I'll never forget that moment. And I remember taking that picture in between the two doors when we were waiting for the Uber. And and for me, that meant everything to me. So I'm thanking you because, you know what I mean? I understand what you're saying when you're like, with your Kobe and you see these, you're like, wow, these people inspire me. But for me, you're an inspiration. You really, truly are an inspiration to me. I love what you do. I love your road and your path and where you are. To me, you represent strength, like the divine strength. So thank you, because you're that example that a lot of people should know about. So for me, I'm like, oh, God love you. I was like, So Okay, you're gonna make me cry. I'm gonna make me cry. So let me stop. So, oh, to me, your son represented greatness on the court. When you sat amongst witnessed how much love and respect people have for your son. I know we spoke about this a little bit earlier, but when you see them wearing the jersey, when you see them talking about your son, when you're, I don't know, when you're watching videos, when you're TV, whatever, like whatever you see from the outside world, when they're talking about Dwyane, what does that do to you emotionally?
It makes me feel proud to hear the positive, the people that speak positive about him, how they're still able to see, even though he's on a scale that they feel like, because some people feel like it's unreachable, they still see his humbleness. They still see, this difference in this kid, you know what I mean? And so it makes me feel, as a mom, it makes me feel, very happy, very enthused that he still can portray such an image to the people that's in the neighborhood, and they don't look at him as being a god. Now, it's some now that I have had to correct, and I let them know, only thing I need you all to think about is that they have parents, they have grandparents, they have family. So be careful what you say out your mouth, because you never know who's around. I had to correct a few people because I am his mom, and whether pastor is on it or not, I'm still his mom. And a few people did tell me, thank you, I appreciate that. I said, yeah, just, I know this is a game, but all that there now, you ain't got to say all that about it. You know how we are. Come on now, we mom.
Oh, of course. Well, there's a couple of times I was like, bite my tongue, please, bite my tongue. Oh yeah, a couple times. Yeah. And my son would just look at me.
But one time, and then you know what? I did that before too. I turned around and I looked, and somebody said, that's his mother. And they said, oh, excuse me. I said, but just to, yes. Just in both areas, we get both areas when it comes to our children. We get both areas as parents when it comes to our babies, because that's what they are to us. They are our babies. I understand that, you're a fan and they this and that to you, but they still our babies. You know what I mean? They're not perfect. They give, you don't know, they giving these games everything they got. You know what I'm saying? They going in this thing. You don't know if they going in, they not feeling well that day, but they still go out there and they give it what they got. So I don't know. His whole life, everything he experienced, it just keeps me that's God keeping me in a humble place. Yeah. I definitely sit humble with him. I'm always amazed at what he does. What's next, Dwyane? What's next? He coined this here. I love this here. He said, I always shoot for what's deemed impossible. Always had a vision. That kid always had a vision. Even when he was 5, 6, 7, he always had a vision. Even though the neighborhood we lived in, it was drug infested, it was gang banging, it was everything. But this kid saw outside of that. He didn't see that. He always shoot for what's deemed impossible. And that's something that we can share with our young people, something we can share with people all over the world, especially young athletes coming up. Let them know, shoot for what seemed impossible. What's going to happen if you shoot for it? You might make it. You know what I mean?
It's true.
You might make it.
Yeah. You can't make it if you don't try.
You don't try. So that's it.
To me in life, if you want something, you manifest it, you go after it, and you do it. You know what I mean? Your efforts is what makes a difference.
Yes.
And yes. I try to tell my boys all the time, if it's in here, then get it out of there. Because it's, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Get it out. Get it out. And my boys just look at me at times. I'm like, what do you mean? And I say, okay, if it's in your brain, get that on paper and then actually execute it. Because it's not going to go anywhere. Come on. And you know what I mean? And they do. And I look at my kids now and I'm so proud of them both. And I'm like, you guys actually took your own vision and you grew it. I said, it's like a plant. You watered it and it blossomed. It couldn't have blossomed if you didn't water it.
Come on.
And I just sit back and I look at them and I say, I'm here to help you. I'm mom, but you have to start your own journey. You have to grow your own journey. I can't speak for you. I can't do these things.
Okay.
So
that's good.
Yeah, I think as moms, you know what I mean? That's our nurturing that we give to our babies. And for me, like I look at what our kids do. You know what I mean? Dwyane's out there in the world and he's a public figure.
Yes.
You know what I mean? People look at him like he has to be perfect 100 times, 100% of the time he has to be perfect. You know what I mean? And fans aren't always that nice, or people aren't always that nice, or jealousy or hatred that our children are faced with. It's so sad because they're no different than anybody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I look at the public and sometimes and I'm like, you know what, you gotta just slow it down. Like to speak to what you were just saying, I was at a game and I think it was an Orlando Magic game, and there was his father and son, and they were just reaming into the players. Oh, he's not good, and he sucks, and all these, and I had to tap him on his shoulder, and I said, excuse me, sir. I said, those guys on the court, I said, they're somebody's child. I said, just like this is your child right here. I said, they're all somebody's child. And he was so surprised, and he just looked at me, and he said, I'm sorry, ma'am. He says, you're absolutely right. I don't know if he knew that Kem was my son. I don't think he knew. I didn't matter. I just did. I would have probably done it no matter where I was.
Yes.
It was just too much. And what I was looking at was the influence he was having on that little boy sitting next to him, which was clearly his.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, hopefully I saved a child. But anyway, so.
At that moment, that moment mattered. That moment mattered. But when you decide to, what, I'm going to say something. And you didn't just say yours, you said all of them, every last one of them. They're somebody's children. And then I loved how you used, because you had your child right here. You know what I mean? That was a perfect scenario, whether you know it or not. So that was a perfect moment. Maybe if the dad didn't hear, maybe that kid did.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what matters, because you realize, maybe that could be me one day. He's not going to want to have 18,000 people standing behind them saying that he's a bad player or whatever. You know what I mean? Nobody wants that. Our boys do the best they can on the court every single night. People don't realize the physical strain that it takes.
Our boys also deal with, like I said, that world. People look at it as being, it's so easy. They getting paid, blah, 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 this and that. Our sons also have to deal with what they call them, stalkers. Mm-hmm. People that become so engrossed with them that they see a relationship, they see this, they have to deal with stuff like that. Their lives be in danger a lot of times. But do the people in the stands know that? Do they think about that? No, it's about, I paid my money to get in here and watch this game, and he works for me now, or she works for me now. That's the mindset that a lot of them have got in, but they don't have no understanding or idea, like yourself, myself, and I know many other moms behind the scene. This is what we at, baby. We praying. We covering ours, because we understand that you can get so angry where you would try to hurt my child. So I got to pray on you. I got to pray for you that you can curb that thing. It's so much since Dwyane been in the league. It's so much that I learned. It's so much that I saw. It's so much that I heard. Since sitting in them stands or listening to somebody talk, or somebody come telling me something when I don't understand why they're like that, and they'll come and share it with me, and I'm like, wow, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah. So we have to, as moms, parents, we have to stay not in their lives. Be like, I love how you said, you step back and say, okay, now you guys got to work your vision, water it. But a lot of parents don't let their kids go to do that. But that's great that you was the type of mom to step back and do that, because we have a place to be in their life, not to be overwhelming, overburdened, or I don't like the for instance, it might be the female that they chose. I don't like the female you chose. Who in the heck is we not to like they chose? You know what I mean? But you have some that do that. But our place is to be supportive, as you said, to be there, to use that nurturing moment. I remember my baby used to come when he used to play. He'll come up to the room I was in, because I used to stay in the hotel that he's at. And when he come, he knew what that was about. He came for prayer. People didn't know that. And I oil him from his head to his toe. I touch his feet. I touch his hand. That's how we did it. That's how we rolled basically every game that I was at. When people seen him run over there to me when I'd be on the floor, I knew my position. I knew my place as his mom. My place when we hugged, I was praying. I was speaking prayer in his ear, and I was releasing back out there. Now you go and you do you. Simple as that. That was my position. That was my place. As a mom, you don't have to see me doing all this other fantastic thing. That right there meant so much more to him than it meant if I was to go and do something totally. That was amazing to him. Just having his mother to be there and to pray for him, to cover him, to believe in him. Yeah,
that's right.
Because of what they deal with.
A lot of players don't have that.
So they don't.
And he's blessed to have a mother who believes, and she's like, come here, I got you. You know what I mean? Come to me, I got you, and let me just whisper this in your ear, because you know what? That's the reminder that he needed, and he knew. That's why he went.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He went. He knew who to look for. He's like, hold on. Everybody's, he's like, thousands of people are there, and he's like, nah, let me zone in. There's my mama. Yeah. There she is. And he's like telling the world, back up. Hold on, this is where I'm zoning in. This is where I'm going, because I'm going to get fulfilled. I need that. This is what I need, because at the end of the day, that's where it all starts, right? So I just love that. I tell my son all the time, you got to learn to block the noise and remember that you're still human. So when you're in the world, you have to show the world that you're not an object. You're a person, because people will remind you quickly, like you were saying, you know what I mean? They're just objects. They're just players. I pay my money and my whatever I pay to come to this game. You better perform. And I tell my kids all the time, show the human side of you, not the object, because then people are going to treat you. You teach people how to treat you. Period. End of story. And he was always like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. And I said, humble yourself, because my son's very humble. He's very quiet. He's just in the world doing what he does. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I keep saying that's something that you want people to know about you, because people just know you as a player. And this is why for me, courtside moms exist, because I want people to understand who our kids are as people and not only as players. Yeah, we talk about playing, but I don't really get into deep into stats and all that, because to me, that's not what matters. For me, I want to know Dwyane through mama's eyes. That to me speaks volumes over. I already know who he is as a player. If I want to, you know what I mean? I already know. If I want to know his stats, I'll just go on Google and I'll just look it up. You know what I mean? But as a person, I only know that through you. I only know that, you know what I mean? When spending time and saying, you know what, give me the truth, because you ain't going to get it from nobody else. You know what I mean? Mamas, we tell the truth. We say what it is.
I would, by you saying that, our children, they love that, and they need that. They need somebody who's not, and I heard my son say this out of his own mouth. Mom, if that's before he, got married again and all this stuff, but it was like, if I need the truth, if I, want to hear, she said, I come to you, you're going to tell me. Because he said it became a concern for him, especially when they first get in, because the people around him, he said, you got too many yes people, even though you know that what you're doing should be checked, it's okay. All because he said they might think I'm gonna cut up, they're gonna get cut off, or they're gonna be able to be in the crowd, this and that. So they need somebody, and they need a place that they can go and they can hear the truth. Okay, lay it out at me. Give it to me. They need that. Then what you're supposed to do, or what I do as a parent, then I trust them with the truth. I trust them to do what they're going to do. I don't tell them what to do. I just trust them to make the decision on it.
Yeah.
And that's our role. We got to be there. We got to be there for our children. Oh, yeah. Not only Dwyane, I got 3 more others. I got 3 daughters, Deanna, Keisha, and Trujillo. Have to be there for them girls when they need truth. Because one thing, that we do, I believe in truth. My daddy said, before he passed, he said, Joseph, he called me Joseph. He said, you don't have a bone in your chest. You done told the world about everything you done, because I had a radio broadcast. But I said, well, Dad, I believe in just being upfront. When God took my son to the NBA, well, eventually somewhere along there, my life became an open book. but it was an open book for the positive. How can I take this, what I experienced, and how can I bring this thing now on the platform that he gave my son and use it now to help build up somebody else? Even in the league, people come in the league, they got issues too.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So even in the league, anybody I can help. Hey, you want me to pray for you? I pray for you. You need my testimony? I got a testimony for what do you need? You know, that's the role that I was called to carry as God decided to put our children there. It's not just about them. It's so much bigger than them. Like you, look what he's doing. He have given you a platform to use. Courtside moms. I think that is powerful. When you told me about it, I thought that was powerful. And now that you really express it, I see it as a place, you said, to get to know the individual. I can go and Google stats. I want to know the person. I love that. And they can, and now they can hear about the intimacy really of, or the human part of our children. Yes. I love that, Wendy. Yes. That's amazing. I love that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And I felt that with you when we were speaking about it, because I remember saying to you, you know what? I said, I just heard you. I heard you speak. I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. Like right away, because when I walked in there, I wasn't sure who you were until you started speaking. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's hear this story. And from that day, I said, this woman here is inspirational to me. I said, this woman here, nothing can touch her. And that's, for me, how I see you. And moms, I believe that we have to help each other, because we all go through different struggles, right? People just say, oh, you're an NBA mom. Oh, you must be great. And you must have all this money. You must shop and you do all these things. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, we're human too. Yeah, we're human too. So for me, right away, I was like, I can learn from Jolinda. I can learn from all the other moms that we were with that day. I was like, I can learn from all. And that's what brought me to the All-Stars that that year in 2020. I needed to learn. I needed to network. I needed to fellowship. I wanted to be somewhere where I can be amongst like women that can explain to me more about the world and more about them. And I realized they're human just like me. Because I thought, you know, when you go in, you feel like you're the outsider. I'm the only one who has problems. I'm the only one. I'm like, nah. And I sat amongst everybody and I'm like, wow. And it was such a beautiful thing. So for me, again, I'm saying to you, thank you for bringing forth what you did and just letting everybody understand truth. Because that's exactly what you brought, truth. And you woke up the world, let me tell you. So God bless you.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Dwyane's retirement. When that decision came for him to retire, what did you think he would miss the most about playing basketball?
I thought really he'll miss basketball, you know. Yeah. And it's interesting you bring that up because, you know, he called me, you know, and got me down, had me come to Miami. I went down to Miami and he said, I'm coming to send a car to get you. No, he came to get me. When he just want to be in him, he'll come and get me. So he came and got me and took me to this real nice place. And so we're talking. And he said, so, you know, I'm thinking about retiring, you know, and I let him talk. I'm a good listener. And then I said, you think you're ready for it now? Do you think you know, really miss the sport? He said, when it came to him a few years earlier, he realized that, yeah, he would miss it. He said, but now, Ma, I feel like I done gave, and these is his words, I done gave it all I can right now. So he didn't get free just physically, because physically, it wears on our baby's body. Financially, whether people know it or not, it wears in their pockets because they have to keep these bodies 100. They got to keep it up, you know, and mentally, you know, they think our children are so free. Our children have to practice. They got to go home. They got to get rest. So they're always in their mind. So it's always something that's going on with them. When my baby said that this was it, this was the time, I knew he had got peace and came to grips with, this season is up for me. He had already launched his vision because he already saw life after basketball before he even got to that point. It was about making it there. So he already saw it, but he knew this here. He said, I don't have no more else to give, Mom. And I had to accept it, love him in it. Now, I didn't know that I love that sport so much. I guess it's the camaraderie of it, or just being around in the atmosphere of it, because that's what, he gave me, or I got when I used to go to the games. And I didn't realize I had missed it until he wasn't playing anymore. So it was a little hard for me, but I'm back in. Every time I get in there, like he said, I be like I'm going crazy. What I do, I just my excitement. I'm like, I jump up and down, I turn around, I do whatever it is, what I do, because I enjoy the excitement and I enjoy the other children, the other young men that's in there. I love them, man. I love to see them attain to what they the place that they have reached, the place that they have arrived in the NBA, just to see them college. I love all of them. Just all of them.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love what's like, I talk to my son all the time about what will you do when you retire? And for him, it's like, it's hard for them to see life after basketball, right?
Basketball.
But one thing, like I look at Dwyane and I look at my son, and I believe that there are people that will just teach the next generation. That's what they're there for. Because my son, like, he does camps, he does all these things, and he likes it because he loves to teach children. He's like, I'm here, you could be here too. And for me, I look at Dwyane and his path, what he's been doing since, it's relatively, you know what I mean? It's the same thing in my eyes. So I want to get to that. But before I do, Dwyane has impacted the lives of many people. You demonstrated to him how he had impacted your life by presenting him with a purple robe, where you mentioned that color meant royalty, and he represented royalty to you. Oh, to me, that actually had me tearing. Can you please share that initiative and that moment?
Ooh, wow. It took me back to that moment, Wendy. I was so emotional that day. Dwyane, the love and the relationship that him and I have is beyond words I can share with people. Without getting in my past and in my life, because there's always a platform for it. I, went down a road that I was not there with him 100, as a mom should have been. But I was there with him 100 as a mom should have been, as he expresses to me. And to give him the robe signified his belief in me. He believed in me once life started looking clear for me. And once the decision got made that this is the call that I'm getting ready to answer. And that young man said, go for it, Mom, because he believed in me. So to give that robe to him, and what he symbolized to me, and what he symbolized to the God that I serve, that was the most valuable gift that I believe I had for him at that moment, that and my love. And so when I presented, if you noticed, he leaned over to me and he was like, Mom, forgive yourself. He told me, forgive myself. It's okay. I love you. Baby, that's when you're seeing crying like, hug. Yeah. So yes, he's that to me. He's royalty to me. He's special to God. That's just that was just all that I had to give. Because you look at our kids and some people say, well, they got everything, but I ask God, well, what can I give him? What can I give him that don't even cost him money? Because that's his money, they ain't not mine.
Yep.
What can I give him? And that's what, I was chosen to give him that Pacific robe. That was the first robe I wore, matter of fact, when I walked in and had my first church service. He was there, he cut the ribbon and everything. That was the first robe I wore. I gave it to my baby.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I seen a little bit of that. Um, and where he spoke and he said that you are his hero. Oh, I was like, oh. And he's shown admiration for you. And despite your challenges you face, he always knew that you were a woman. You were a woman of, you loved your children. So when you look back at Dwyane's journey from him being a little young boy to who he is today, what is something that you admire about him?
How he had the ability to just, he had the ability to live outside of distraction and his environment and live that perfect world in his mind and execute it. I just admire that about that person. He just amazing. How can you do that? You know, trust me, he had a lot of distractions, a lot going on in Dwyane's world that they didn't know about, but here he was living in his little perfect world that he was creating while all this was going on behind him, in order to not allow it to stop him from getting to the places that he wants to get to, the strives that he wants to strive for. Amazing.
See, for me, that says he stood in the same strength that you stood in. That is something that, to me, you gave to him. You're saying, I'm this strong and this is what I'm giving to you. You stand and you build and do what you got to do. And as we're talking, this is what I'm like, wow, Jolinda, that's what you gave your baby. Maybe without knowing, because sometimes we give our kids all these attributes and we have no idea. We don't know how they feed off of us.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like when I was speaking to my son, like you were saying earlier, they come to us for the truth. And when my son asks me questions, sometimes I look at him and I said, don't ask me what you're not ready for the answer for now. And then he looks, it's like, because I'm going to tell you the truth. And he stops. And I said, are you ready for the truth? And he says, yeah, Mom, give it to me. And I give it to him. Yes. And that makes us stronger. And it's funny because sometimes he'll be like, oh, I disagree. And he'll walk off. Do you? I'm just telling you what I feel. And there's times he's come back, you were so wrong. Or there's times he's come back and he's like, I can't do this without you, Mom. He says, because I know you. You got my back. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the strength that as moms that we give our babies, because that is so important, right?
Wow, that's powerful.
When players speak of your son, they often mention his many accomplishments. Come on now, your baby got 1 million accomplishments. God bless him. They've said he was a player who was quick on his feet. I mean, Shaq used to call him Flash. Flash. They said he was difficult to guard. He was a great shooter, one of the best players in the world, one of the greatest players of all times. These are things that players have said about Dwyane. But as mom, how do you describe this same man?
I describe him as a man who, when he's on a mission to do something, he's going to accomplish it by any means necessary. He's a man who he likes to win. He's competitive. He loves that. And when you doubt him, you done just lit a match up under him. And you better watch out, because he's finna go on. He know how to go in. We always said it's another level that he can go to. And not all players have that, in all honesty. But he can reach down inside of him, girl, and go to this other level, and you be like holding on to your seat, like, what is that? Where did that come from? He said, I have no idea. But he had the ability to do that.
Of course. So
I remember I used to tell him, you take my breath away every time I watch you. Even in life outside of this basketball, he still yet got the ability to take my breath away.
Wow.
Watching him operate outside of a perfect world, making perfect moments for him and his family.
That's right. That's right. Ooh. Don't you love how our boys prove to us that they're more than just athletes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're showing us that I'm Dwyane. Yeah, I'm great on this court, but I'm also great off the court.
Off the court.
So that brings me to after basketball, so many retired players choose different paths. Earlier this year, Dwyane purchased a minority ownership stake in the Utah Jazz franchise. I personally love when players show interest in the business side of the sport that they love so much. And now they can bring their on court skills, they can bring their off court skills and knowledge to the table, to these franchises.
Yes.
In your opinion, what do you think Dwyane will bring to the Utah franchise?
They're going to get a mature, well-rounded Dwyane, someone who done already went through. I told you his experience in college, where he sat a whole season. So the peripheral vision that he can see things that a lot of players can't see. Also, the compassion side that players need is in this well-rounded Dwyane. Also, the business side that he done learned as he done grew up the ladder is in this co-owner, this person, Dwyane. And so he brings all of that, all that he had become, to a team of young guys, to a staff, to owners. Just sit in the room with them and just allow him, who can see things past what's in front of him, just allow him to open his mouth and speak. Allow him to, a lot of them don't interact with the guys. He said, he told them, I got to interact with them. I got to have that. And so that's why you see the big brother or the big daddy Dwyane out there, that side of him being used as well, talking to his guys, he understand that, you know, we're not friends, but we can be friendly as we do this, because I can't be your friend and be your boss too. We can be friendly as we do this thing. And it works for a perfect marriage. He have a perfect marriage with the Utah.
God bless him.
So I'm proud of him.
Of course. And I love that vision for him. And I love where he recognized, you know what? I don't have to leave the world of basketball. I can still be here and I can teach and I can do more. I've lived this experience. That's his testimony. He's saying, I'm taking my testimony now and I'm doing good with it. And I'm paying this forward for other players so that they can live what I've lived. It's like sharing. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, I did this. Now let me bring what I have and let's mush it with your life and you know what I mean, and see what good you can do with that. So to me, I just love the fact that he stayed within the industry and is just flourishing and using his skills, right? Because a lot of players, you never know what they're going to do when basketball ends.
Exactly.
Right? And we want them to still be around. We want them to still live. You know what I mean? To me, it breaks my heart sometimes when we find out the players are broke or they spent all their money or they're gone or they're not doing anything with themselves. It's like, no. You know what I mean? So Dwyane says, no, I'm a businessman now. You know what I mean? I was the athlete. Now I'm going to be that one who's going to look, you know what I mean? Look and take care of the players and build himself and build his franchise. So good luck to him with that.
Hey, man. Thank you.
I remember a few months ago, I was online and I saw that you were doing a live video and it piqued my interest. So I tuned in and you were full throttle talking about better me, better health. Please share that with us all. And what does that mean to you?
Wendy, I'm 66 years old. And my journey have taken me in some roundabout places, mountains, valleys, hills. And in the midst of the places that I traveled, I developed diabetes, my call to ministry, diabetes, my call in ministry, high blood pressure, my call in ministry, just overall unhealthiness, but yet still operating in my call in ministry. And taking care of my mom, who was a dementia person. Mom wound up passing at 98, though she lived a long life. And being exposed to all of that, and then watching my health deteriorate. I was watching me deteriorate. And I love the Lord, and I believe the Lord loved me so much that he spoke to me and let me know that that part of my assignment was getting ready to end, because if it hadn't, I don't believe you and I be speaking today. So I stay at the throne constantly to stay listening, to hear directions on what I need to do. 2020, before the COVID thing broke, I heard in my spirit, check in with Mama Wade, because I made this decision in 2019. I'm finna reverse this thing. I don't want to be on pills all my life. I don't want to live like this anymore. So I knew then I had to put in the work. I had an A1C of 13.3, and that's too high. Then it went down to 10. Then it went down to 9. Then it went to 8, but it stayed basically 8, 9 in that level. That's not good. High blood pressure, when I go, 140 over this, to the point where the doctor wanted me to take 2 blood pressure pills instead of 1. So instead of me coming off of this stuff, it looked like I'm getting more and more on it. So once I made my commitment, and once I attached my will to it, I made a decision, I'm finna reverse this thing. And I went in it. And it was done so successfully to the point I wasn't watching my weight. I was just going after the diabetes. In the midst of going after the diabetes, my number came down from an 8 point to a 6.4. So now I'm in a real good range. Then I noticed my weight had came down. Well, I come from 183 to now I'm like 161. Whoa. Then I noticed when I'm going for my blood pressure, everything is balanced. So I'm a teacher. I'm one who believed that, like I said, my experience I lived when I was living out there homeless or in that world there, why not share this with them? Something positive. So that's how Better Health, Better Me got birthed. Bringing the knowledge and the information that I had to help the people out there that don't have time to gather information. I call myself the information gatherer. So they might not have time to gather that information. I'll gather it up. I'll set up for 30 minutes and I'll share it with somebody in my mind, believing that it's going to help somebody's life. Better health. In order for you to be a better person, you have to have the better health. So let's tackle it. I challenge the A1CP. I challenge the diabetics. When we haven't, like today, I did it on today, 2 days, it's been on dealing with the mind. I call it mind cleansing, because a lot of time we cleanse everything but our mind. So I went in and I shared with them in that aspect there on what to do. The importance of vitamin D. Guess what? You got a lot of Black people didn't know how important it is for us, especially to take vitamin D. Vitamin D is more important than vitamin B, because when you go in the hospital, especially for the COVID or whatever, guess what they test first? To see where your vitamin D level is at. So I brought that information, and it just started growing and growing. It's such a passion in my heart, because guess what? I get the response back from the people saying, thank you. Keep bringing information, Mama Wade. I appreciate it, Mama Wade. So I get these people that appreciate what I'm doing out there. So yeah, that is so that is so locked in my heart, Wendy. I couldn't go on this Monday because the Facebook and Twitter went down. Yeah. So I did Thursday and Friday. Why? Because I committed 2 days out of a week to, I call them my family. That's my family. You know what I mean? And I get up in the morning for my family to go and let them know this is the information I got for this week. It's going to help somebody. So yeah, you see the enthusiasm, you see me exercising sometime, you see me doing meals, because our Better Health, Better Me focus on the whole person. It's not just the physical. I'm talking about our whole, the mind, the body, and your spirit. It just focuses on that whole, our whole being, our total existence. And that's my assignment right now. That's why I believe the Lord have me at right now. Plus, I still do a Zoom Bible study. It's, you know, it's not as a whole lot of people, but I still teach my Bible and do what I got to do. So I got me 2 heavy things that I'm really, really engrossed in right now.
Well, for your better health, better me, when I went on that was a Thursday morning. When I went on that Thursday morning, I was just like glued and I was like, wow. And I typed to you, thank you very much, Jolinda, for sharing this information. I too am diabetic, but I'm type 2.
Okay.
And you said to me, well, where's your A1C at? I'll never forget. I think it was like 7.7 or something. And you said, we just need to bring this down a bit. We're not really comfortable with 7.7 or whatever it was. And I laughed and I said, she's absolutely right. And I was just sitting there listening to you talk about meals. And I was listening to you teach because I was newly diagnosed with diabetes. So I had no idea what was going on. I was scared. I was petrified. I would drink water and I'm like, oh my God. Like, yeah, I was like, I lost so much weight and I was put on medication and my doctor said, you're not that bad. He says, I just want to bring you down.
Yeah.
So for me, your words meant a lot and it was always here. And I thought about you the other day because I spoke to my doctor and now he said to me yesterday, he says, well, your A1C is 6.1. He says, so you're doing very, yes. So he said to me, he said, you know what? He said, I don't know what you're doing. He said, but you are almost like not diabetic. He said, I just want to make sure, he says, give yourself a couple of months, stay on the pills and everything. Cause I kept telling him, I want to do this naturally. And yes. So he said, you do what you feel is best for your body. He says, I'm just suggesting until December you stay on the pills. He says, after that, we'll look at a natural or something different for you. He says, you might not even need it anymore. So for me, I'm saying to you, thank you, because your message, I mean, I was like, this is Jolinda Wade. And I remember you saying, no, we're not happy with the 7.7 or whatever you said. You said, you got to bring that down a bit. And I said, okay. And I said, I'm going to make it my mission to go down. So honestly, I kept saying, when I go back next time, I was going to share it with you and say, guess what? I brought it down. But I only got the appointment, I think it was yesterday. So I wanted to share it with you. So just now I'm happy. So thank you.
I'm so happy for you, man. It's worth being afraid when you do get it because people don't look at diabetes as being chronic. It's a chronic illness. You know, it comes, it takes our limbs, it takes our mind. It's just so much that it can take from us. And for you to go in there, it wasn't no accident that I believe you was sent to the page that day, but to go to the page that day and then say, okay, and all right, and then for you to take it to a 6.1. Now the thing is, and I understand what your doctor's saying, now the thing is we're in the keeping now, because just like it went, it can go again. Now he just want to watch you. That's all he's saying. Let's just go and see, and then let's see how we can do naturally, because sometimes we'll go off and we got to be careful going off. You know, it's about keeping it now. I'm so proud of you, Wendy. You don't know. Oh my God. I'm going to say it Monday, if you don't mind. I'm going to tell everybody.
No.
I'm going to tell everybody. Oh my God. I'm so proud of you. Please keep it. Keep it low. That might be as far as he wants you to go, because your body can't do too low. Right. You know what I mean? That might be it. And if that's it, then it's all about maintaining. You're already doing it, changing your lifestyle, exercising, cleansing your mind. Do your mind cleansing. You need that. Yes. You need that time for Wendy, to take care of Wendy, because Wendy got all this other stuff.
Yes.
That Wendy have to do.
Yes.
Oh my God. And this is the best part of the interview right here.
I tell you.
This really is. Yes.
No, and I see your passion when I go on and I see your passion. I just love it because it made me engaged. It made me want to stay. Because sometimes, when people do live and they see you, you know what I mean? They see you and then they call you out and you're like, oh, okay. What are they going to say? What are they going to say to me? What are they going to, you know what I mean? And I remember you saying you were, I can't remember what we were making. I want to say pancakes. And you turned around and you looked at the screen. You said, oh, courtside moms. All right, courtside moms. What's going on? And I was like, oh, hi. And I was typing it. And I was in Florida at the time. I needed to go to Florida just to be with my son and just to get peace. Yes. And I said, I just need to do something different. So like you said, it wasn't an accident that I literally sat outside and I opened my phone and it just popped up. I wasn't even sitting there 2 minutes. Wow. And Yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm so scared with diabetes. Who knew? I didn't know what you were talking about. I had no idea what it was. And
Right.
here, that message that you were given was exactly the message I needed for that day. So
Amen.
I will never forget. I will never forget that day. I'm telling you, when I looked and I said, thank you, Jolinda. And
Bless
you
you.
just you brought this liveliness to it. And what I loved was the way you were explaining it. You are a real teacher. You really are a wonderful teacher. The way you explain things, you broke things down for everybody, because I was sitting there in limbo for 4 months having no clue what to eat, what to do, how to you know what I mean, look for my body. I was petrified. So when I was listening to you, I actually wrote notes. I had to find
Oh,
these notes, and I'm going to send them to you from the notes that I had from listening to you. So thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So Jolinda, if people want to find you, please tell us, where can they find Jolinda Wade?
So if anybody is interested in what I'm doing with the Better Health, Better Me, to check in with Mama Wade, or just period overall, you can go to my website, www.jolindawade.com/shop, and you can be able to fill out the little box information and support, get a t-shirt, or you can go on there and leave a testimony, especially if you know about the Better Health, Better Me, and it have helped you in any kind of way. You can post your testimony up there and be able to see the picture gallery that I have of others that have already supported.
Would you like to talk to us about Divine Grace Behind the Walls?
Divine Grace Behind the Walls. That was my first book that I wrote. And I wrote it from behind the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Behind the wall, you see that means when I was in prison. I wrote the prayer aspect of it. The reflection part came when came home. Actually, I came home in 2003, the same year that Dwyane went to the league. God wrote the story. That same year. And I remember in 2004, the Spirit sent me to find the reflections, find the prayers. And with the prayers, I sat and I said, oh my God, this is going to be a book. And I felt intruded upon because that was the moment that I had with him when we were locked up. So now he's telling me I have to share my prayers and what happened with the world. So that's how Divine Grace Behind the Wall got birthed. And it's a book of genuine prayers that I told them I didn't want them to change my prayers, because prayers to me, I was learning how to talk with God, how to communicate. I didn't have that communication with him. I didn't have that relationship with him when I was out there in the world. So Behind the Wall was a great experience for me. I wasn't out there in population with the people. I felt like he cuddled me by putting me in segregation, but it was 23, 24 hours in there with him. And he was my librarian. He was getting me books in there to read, and we make sure we had our Bible, and he'd put me up and have me to read it. And so that's how that became to fruition, Divine Grace Behind the Wall.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And when you're saying that people sometimes don't know how to pray, I was that person that didn't understand how to. And my childhood friend, she wrote a book called I Testify on Purpose. And she asked a bunch of people just to write something, write your testimony, or write your communication with God, write whatever you want. And she asked me to write something in it. And it's actually being published right now. But for me, it was my time now to figure out how to communicate, not to be shy. And someone said to me, be uncomfortable. He says, write what you're uncomfortable about. And he says, and you're going to see it's going to turn to your true testimony. And that's exactly what I did. And so this is why Divine Grace Behind Walls is so, you know what I mean? That's why I brought it up, because I've seen it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is, to me, it gives purpose,
Yeah.
and it can help so many. So I thank you, because again, and this is true, again, when I saw your divine purpose and when I saw your book, it made me now not feel shy to write about what I thought would, you know what I mean? Like I'm not ashamed of anything I did, but
Yes.
it taught me how to communicate better
Yes.
with God. It
Yes.
taught me how to ask. It taught me to thank in advance and stop complaining about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're quick to complain,
Yeah.
but yet we're not, I don't know why, we just don't thank in advance. And now for me, it flipped. Now it's thank you for so and so and so. Thank you for allowing me this.
Yes.
This is what I need
Yes.
to change, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
So when I researched you and I found this, it intrigued me. And I was like, prayer for me is where it's at. So again, thank you. So
You're welcome.
My last question to you before we get to the fun facts is, what is it like for you to be the courtside mom to Dwyane Wade?
Oh, well, I'm gonna say the biggest cheerleader, you know, it's whatever he need me to be, you know, to be the presence. If I don't open my mouth, just to be the presence. If you just want to look over there at me, it's just having my presence there. All that means a lot, to be that courtside mom for my son, my child.
I love it.
Yes.
So now we're going to talk about some fun facts. What was Dwyane's go-to dish that you make that he just must have?
Oh my goodness. I don't think I have one that I made. Remember Dwyane went when he was young?
Yeah.
So what I did, I used to teach him and his sister Tregill how to cook. So I have them in the kitchen with me. And Dwyane always wanted to do what his big sister did. So I taught him how he was the dicer and she was the slicer, and I teach him how to cook rice and stuff like that. But to say that I have a main dish that he loves, there's not one. I'm too honest, but there's not one. I'm not gonna make one up.
Not everybody has.
I don't. We don't have that.
When I asked my son that question, he said fried chicken, and I laughed because I was like, I don't think he ever liked anything I made. So it shocked me when he said something. So I was like, really? So
yeah. So I don't see.
Yeah. Other than a basketball, what is a childhood item he always had with him?
Well, you know what? He's like a car. He was fascinated with this program. I can't think of the name of it, where the car talked. And what is the name of that picture? But he always, it wasn't it was a car. He just loved the cars.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's something he had. I can't think of the name of the picture. It's crazy. I can see the guy, but I can't remember the name of that picture. And he always wanted a car that talked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. His first car would say, "You're too close to the car." Oh, I said, "Boy, look at you. You don't win and get you a car that talks." But I believe it stemmed from that being one of his favorite movies when he was a little guy. You know.
Oh, that's funny. You see, that toy inspired him. Like you said, when he finally bought his car, it spoke to him.
The car said, "You're getting too close to the car." So, oh my goodness.
That's funny. Yeah. Did you have a nickname for him? And if you did, what was it?
Well, we called him Pac-Man. That's because that kid can take down some stuff. So my brother named him. Said, "They go Pac-Man, get him." Because if you got something laying down, Dwyane used to have a great appetite. He used to get really down. I mean, he can eat. So that's what we called him, Pac-Man. He eat up everything.
I love that. Now we're going to ask you some advice questions. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to another courtside mom about how to deal with a coaching decision that she does not agree with?
Okay. Once again, just remain supportive, get out of what you think should happen and trust in the gang and the moment where they're at right now. Yeah.
Yes.
It'll calm you down. It'll calm you down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
You know, we coaches too on the side. We
yeah.
court side mom coaches too. You know, why you take? Well, okay, I get it.
I know. It's so funny you said it. Yes, we are courtside mom coaches. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, game time, if I'm not in the arena, I'm sitting at home and I'm texting, and other moms on my son's team, we're going at it. And we laugh all the time, and we're like, whew, this can never go public. But it's just funny because it's all jokes and love.
Yes,
but we laugh because sometimes we're like, do you know how silly we sound? We're not even coaches. We don't even know what we're talking about. And we just laugh. And I'm like, see you next game, girl. And we that's it. So we call each other, couch coaches is what we call ourselves.
I love it. I love it.
What advice would you give to a player about how to deal with a tough teammate?
Give him his space. Continue to, remain true to yours, to who you are, and because the teammate might be going through something that you don't know about. So you give them a space to go through, but you still remain true to what you're about. And you know what I do? I speak to them. Hey, how you doing today? Keep it moving. Sometimes never know. Just that saying something might, because we never know what individuals go through on these teams. Right.
Sometimes acknowledging them could be just so powerful. Maybe that's what they were waiting for, is someone to care, someone to show that I care about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes people don't know and they just lash out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody's asked me, nobody's caring. And then it's like, just that simple, you good? That could mean everything, right?
That's true. That's true.
My last question to you is, if you could give only one piece of advice to another courtside mom, what would that be?
Do not let the place that our sons have been brought to and the people who now have been crowding in, do not let them crowd you out of your space, because no one, absolutely no one, can take your space. So don't let them crowd you out, because this industry do that, push families out. But remember your place. I had Lucille O'Neal to give me that advice when my son was a rookie, when I first came in. So that's what I would like to tell them. Your place is your place. Can't nobody take it. And get peace in that and hang there. Hang there. Wish you would. Mm-hmm. Oh, mom.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that advice. And it's so true. Because like you said, there are situations where families are pushed out. Moms are pushed out. I met a mother this summer at the Summer League, and she was talking about that, how she's being pushed out by the people surrounding her son. Yeah. And that to me was like, wow. And I remember saying to her, you don't allow that. You do not let him go. Yeah. Because nobody has his best interest at heart the way you do. Yeah. And she said to me, I'm going to fight. Because at first she was like, oh, I was taken aback by it. She says, I'm just upset because I'm just in the background. And I'm like, no. You put yourself back at the forefront. That's because at the end of the day, your baby's going to need you. And everybody else, they see him differently than how you see him.
Exactly.
So she and I talk about it a lot. And now she's like, no, we're at a good place now. But you're right. It does happen. People just see this as moms. And for me, moms, we're gold. We are everything. And this is why I created this platform. So I'm like, wait a minute. How come everybody's talking about the players and they'll talk about the sport and they'll talk about dads? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. They came from somewhere. I'm like, no, moms, we're about love. We're the nurturing side. That's the side I wanted people to know about, not just like, yeah, I used to go hoop with my dad and we used to play sports together. And I'm like, okay, but what about the other side? What about that other side for, about you that it's not out there in the public. It's as if people are afraid to hear that human side, that loving side, that passionate side. And that's where moms come in. So I'm like, no. We need somewhere where the public can understand our boys, how they were raised, where they were raised, and our roles as mom. And to me, that is more important than anything. So with that said, I thank you because you just came in, you just gave us a wealth of knowledge about your son that a lot of people probably never even understood. And they never understood it from your eyes. And that's the eyes that matter to me as mama. So I thank you, Jolinda. You are such a beautiful individual. You impact so many people through your words and through your work and what you do. And I look at your son and he does the same. It's like you both do two different things, but at the same time, it's the same. He's impacting them, athletically and, doing different things. And then here he has mom and she's impacting people, but together you represent strength to me in my eyes. So God love you both. And I thank you so much to tear me up for spending time with me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Courtside Moms and make sure you subscribe to the podcast.
Done, baby. I do it naturally.